There's coffee in that nebula.
How you doing, fellas?
Okay.
That's no decaf, is it?
Viennese cinnamon.
Yeah.
Viennese cinnamon. That's what I want.
Yeah, he's
damn
so
it.
nummy. Good morning, everybody. I put myself there, damn it. Don't move me. I'm OCD, so. Good morning, Brandenburg. Good morning, Jabroni.
Hey, great. Always a pleasure and honor to be on the show with you guys. Big
Well,
Don
you
here.
are-
But
Well,
you
Jerry-
can only be with us an hour, right?
Unfortunately, yeah, we got really busy time at work here.
Okay.
We're trying to change lead into gold here. And,
So
we're having a few
we'll
difficulties.
try to humiliate you in 1 hour instead of 2.
Yeah,
That's
well,
how it works here in Pop Culture Minefield land. Yeah.
right. There's one thing, I'll just say this, and then I'll actually keep my mouth shut for most of this program, which is an unusual thing. The UFO cover-up is collapsing, apparently, and it's going out with a whimper and not a bang, which is good, because in my science fiction novel, they attempt a coup d'etat to maintain it.
It really
But the
is.
The
It really is,
UFO
John.
cover-up is a chamber of horrors. It's a science fiction horror movie.
Well,
Secret
I've got a
trainings,
few
abductions, mutilations.
thoughts about that.
Well,
Right.
you've talked about it previously, Don. You were talking about how, I mean, if it's left to their own devices, we will never get disclosure from the Air Force or CIA.
No.
They will never disclose it. That includes, by proxy, NASA and Space Force. You'll never get full disclosure from them. Even when people walk out, they're going to be that husband that got caught cheating on the spouse on video that says, that's not me. And
Who are you going to believe?
you can
Me
see
or your
you
lying eyes?
in the fucking video. And he's like, yeah, that's not me. And somebody who knows something about that is Mark Center, Jabroni. He's been caught on video.
Yes, I have, and then I joined a website and I made a mint.
Yes. Was that Tinder?
What?
Yes, it was.
What?
I've got a whole bunch of toys behind me, and they're not the toys that you play with, Jerry Gary.
Oh.
Well, good morning to both you guys. It's Wednesday, hump day. We have an audience here that's chatting with us already. Of course, we got our KGRA audience listening to our show or watching it via the apps or Facebook or YouTube. Chanel has joined us.
Yes,
And,
I almost had there.
This is so weird. We've got Bill and Chanel on at the same time. How wild. That's crazy. That's like proof that they're not the same person because they're in here at the same time, I guess. But we've got, who do we have here today? We got Andy Morrow, D. Bud Martin, Anima Confusa, Alex Moore, Cam's Crash Courses. Oh my God. Cam's here on time.
And
That's
Christian with a
fantastic.
super chat.
Joe's Atmosphere, and Chris Mullen is here, and Christian Delorme with what an odd amount of money to give. $6.69.
That's a message. That is a
I know it
message.
is. I just love to hear Gary laugh. Please let me hear Martin's Latin voice saying, Christian, as has some stripper money. There you go. Good. Say it, Martin.
Christian, give us some stripper money.
Little lap dancing money, huh?
Yeah, that's what he does. He drinks. He's a PBR guy. He drinks a lot of Pabst Blue Ribbon, and he just starts throwing money at us.
Although I don't think a stripper's going to appreciate 69 cents.
Yeah, it's like, where am I going to hold it? And for his $6.69 contribution, he gets this wonderful video.
Oh, yeah. You're talking to me all wrong. It's the wrong tone.
Yeah. So, let's see. Chris Mullen is here. Wow, we've got a good crowd here this morning. So,
Jeebus. Where's Jeebus?
I guess Monkey Jeebus, he's not here.
You need to say his 2 more times.
Here it is. Tim?
Hey,
is
Tim.
Here. What's up, Tim? It's not Tim. It's Tim. Just like in Monty Python. Like, I don't know if you guys know that. The Monty Python and the Holy Grail. You know that one, Mark?
Yeah.
They ask him, "Oh, great wizard, what is your name?" And he goes, "Some call me Tim." Like he's not totally sure.
And we have a backdoor from just one of the panelists.
Fuck you, Mark. Yeah. You can play him the video.
Oh, let me. Okay.
We're all waiting for you, Martin. Don't worry. We're not going to go.
Open your back door, baby. Loosen your hinges, I'll show you my key.
Open your back door, baby.
Mañana.
So, man, this last week has been crazy with this shit happening. We had, first of all, we had Grush, who did the first whistleblower thing, which apparently all he did was, because he doesn't really have any evidence.
No, he doesn't.
He just has multiple people who have come to him in confidence that, telling him what's happening. And he goes and basically he says, I want to request an answer to this, and I'm going to do it through a complaint. And holy shit, that started a mudslide. So now we've got all these other people that are stepping forward. I'm going to bet some of them were the people who talked to him.
Here's the deal. Mark sent me this week a number of video clips all about Grush. And various people, interviews, people discussing his revelations, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I watched a lot of those. And one of the people that Mark very much depends upon is a Brit by the name of Mick West. That's right, isn't it, Mark West?
Yep.
Mick West, who is pretty insightful. And basically, West is not all that impressed. Well, I watched the video with Mick West and the video of Mick West on a panel discussing this guy. And I basically used my detective hat when I watched this. And it suddenly became very apparent that there is quite a cultural divide between what's been happening here and Mick West. Number one, he's a Brit. Number two, he never served in the military, as far as I know. I have, Gary has, and I was involved in the military with intelligence operations. So I've got kind of a step up on a lot of this. Now, nothing as exotic as UFO stuff. This was during a war. This was operations we were mounting against the enemy, the North Vietnamese communists. But Intelligence is intelligence is intelligence. Now, one of the things that some of these folks have been really zeroing in on is all we get from this guy is stories. Okay?
Yeah, there's nothing.
No evidence.
No evidence. He's not the evidence guy.
No ashtray out of an alien craft, no
Where's
no,
my pickle jar with the
DNA.
alien in it?
None of this shit. All we got is his stories. Well, yeah. And why is that? Well, for one thing, if he brought forward any classified information that he had not been approved to release, he wouldn't be sitting out there talking to us right now.
Yeah.
He'd be cooling his heels in a federal cell somewhere. Okay? So that part I get. The part that I do find extraordinary is the fact that what he did talk about has basically, he's come forward under the auspices of the Department of Defense, and he said what he said with no repercussions. Now, his complaint about being a whistleblower and being, screwed with, yeah, that kind of shit happens. It's been happening for years. But let me tell you something. This crap has been happening for close to 80 years.
Yes.
All right, this UFO business. The government, primarily the United States Air Force, have gone to extraordinary lengths, including destroying people's lives, destroying them, getting them fired from their jobs, taking away their income, making them look like absolute lunatics by deliberate means. They have gone after people that have tried to report the truth. Suddenly, here we are all these years later, and it's all dissipating? No, it's really not. I'm here to tell you, from my research, my investigations, that the bottom line is these guys will never release full disclosure. Never. And I'll tell you why I believe that's happening. The bottom line is they have a secret that is so earth-shattering that they are afraid that if this secret is released, it will turn our society and civilization upside down. Now, of course, the first question is, what the hell could that be? What the hell could be so extraordinary? Well, let's do a little logical thinking. Number one, Grush said the government has at least 12, maybe more, recovered craft. 12. At least 12. Now, Jesus Christ, 12 recovered, for the one of a better term, let's call them flying saucers. Now, if those flying saucers originally came from another star system, that means their technology is so advanced that they can traverse the universe, relatively speaking, in the blink of an eye, by some exotic technology. That's pretty buff, okay? That is pretty buff. Now, if they can do that, and their technology is so advanced, well, holy hell, how come they keep crashing? We got 12 flying saucers or more? If their technology is so extraordinary, what happened? Well, I'll tell you what I think happened, and what ultimately may be the secret they are so desperate to keep. And this is Don talking, okay? This is what I think.
Don is talking.
They are crashing because they have been hit with weapons, and not ours, I think one of the big secrets is the fact that there is warfare going on out there in near Earth space. Okay.
Star Wars.
Really?
A real, honest to God, shoot 'em up. And they would be going absolutely crazy if something like that became public knowledge. I mean, what would it do to us down here on Earth? Suddenly, people would begin asking, well, what the hell am I paying all these extraordinary taxes for if they can't even secure the skies above my city or town? Okay. What the hell? They've been lying to me all these years that there's nothing there when they knew damned well there was something there. Now, I've been deep up to my ass in this stuff for over 30 freaking years. I have knowledge going back to the late 40s and 50s with what was happening then. This would be like trying to read ancient Greek by any kid on the street right now. They wouldn't have a clue about it because they don't know. They never took the time to research it. I have. And I'm telling you, back in the 50s, we were losing pilots, and I'm talking about military pilots, okay, willy-nilly trying to chase these things and knock them down. Do you know that the President of the United States at one point, Harry S. Truman, gave the order to shoot them down, okay, which basically initiated freaking aerial warfare between us and them. Hey, when Dr. Marina Popovich, a retired Red Air Force colonel and PhD, was traveling over here in the early 90s, and I interviewed her, I asked her about that. They were slapping the shit out of Russian pilots all over the former USSR. So it's obvious that if things came push to shove, we basically would be sucking hind tit. Okay. That's just how it is. Now, are they going to talk to us now?
Come on. G it up a little bit.
Yeah.
You have to be so nasty.
Yeah. Well, the bottom line is you may think they're releasing it all, but Bubba, they ain't.
There will never be full disclosure. You've stood by those words already. And even with all these whistleblowers, it's just like I said with Mark, because, Mark's been caught so many times, on video. And he just says, that's not me, man.
Me.
It's not me.
Not that big.
That's the Air Force, CIA, NASA, and space. And Bill Clinton.
Right.
So hey, I got something to ask the only guy with a PhD on the panel, and that's not you, Jerry Gary. Oh. So you've written books and you've done things, very important things. You've been out there, you've been in there. When they mention DOPSR, sir, DOPSR, as the place where you have to go get your okay before you write a book or do an interview or whatever, even if you're retired, in your background with the things that you've written and talked about, have you ever had to meet with this department, and what was that like for you?
Well, I can tell you that I worked in Washington, D.C. for 15 years on defense, space / intel things. I was a contractor most of the time, and or a consultant, and I heard very similar things to what Gorsuch is, or Gorish, I guess this is, how do you pronounce it? Grush. I heard very similar things to what Grush was saying back in the 80s. Now, when the 9/11 happened, suddenly they didn't need scientific advice. They needed money for boots and bullets to go to Afghanistan. And so I got offered a job down in Florida at the Kennedy Space Center, at Florida Space Institute. So I took that job, but I was working in a shop, as they called it, with all of these intel officials, and from the various agencies, and they basically gave me a farewell lunch. And I said at the lunch, I heard a lot of interesting rumors around the coffee machine and in the hall before and after meetings. And I'd like to write a science fiction novel, and I was wondering if I, put that kind of stuff in there, would that be okay? And they said, to my great surprise, they seemed pleased. They said, yeah, John, we always like your reports. If you write a novel, science fiction novel about this stuff, we'll read it. And not only that, we'll, kind of distribute it, but make sure it's labeled science fiction, they said. And then I ended up, writing the manuscript, and I submitted it through classification. And I put all the stuff in there: mutilations, abductions, crop circles, God, secret treaties, crash retrievals, shoot downs of UFOs by not only us, but other people upstairs. And they passed on all of it. And that became Morningstar Pass, the collapse of the UFO cover-up. And and I was told it was widely read at the agencies, and they liked it. And then when times got rough out in Wisconsin, I ended up in Wisconsin working for Orbital Technologies, and they were having hard times. And, they changed me from being chief scientist to being chief consultant, which meant they could pay me only when they felt like it. And suddenly these guys from Washington, D.C. that I knew showed up in Wisconsin with a company called Morningstar Applied Physics and gave me a consulting job at full salary. And I said to one of them, I said, this Paul Murad, whom some of you may know, great guy, passed on unfortunately. But I asked him, I said, gee, the name Morningstar, did that have anything to do with my novel? and he looked at me, and he's a former paratrooper. He looked at me with this paratrooper look, and he says, Brandenburg, when they gave me this assignment, they told me you were a smart guy. Why are you asking me stupid questions? That was his answer. So apparently they paid me a compliment. They named this consulting vehicle that kept me alive financially after the novel.
So what's your view? I know nothing about this. What's your view?
Yeah, by the way, there's a link to a video synopsis. It's a 400,000 page, a 400,000 word novel. Hal Puthoff read it and called it War and Peace. That's a big compliment. And Don's read it. And I made a video synopsis of it. Jerry's should have a link available to it. You can watch, instead of reading the whole book, you can watch a synopsis of it in a half hour. It's got music. It's got pretty women. It's got
nice
stuff. And hey, I know how to write a novel.
But does it have TNA?
I got not just one heroine. I got two. One is blonde and one
does it have
Asian.
TNA, John?
Absolutely. They're called the Silicon Sisters.
So
and they're both news anchors at this upstart news network, and they start getting all these leaked documents, and they run with it.
It sounds like a good book.
Let me tell you one thing, though.
Yeah.
The UFO cover-up people ignore them at first. They said no one's going to pay any attention to these two bimbos, and then they can start getting traction, and then they start trying to either discredit them or kill them. And finally, when congressional hearings happen, they turn all their classified documents over to Congress. I'm giving you a synopsis of the book. They have congressional hearings complete with a alien in a pickle jar, and as presented as evidence. And the secret government, which is allied with the Greys, by the way, in this novel, attempts a coup d'etat. The aliens, in fact, are supposed to show up in the skies above Washington, D.C., but because of the two women, they had to rush everything. It's cloudy. No one can see the alien ships. And they fly around above the clouds and then finally leave. And leaving the people in black to fend for themselves. So anyway, I mean, this thing, the UFO cover-up dies a horrific, violent death in this novel. And I put everything in there, the mutilations of people. And, I talked to Don about that. And before I put that in there, mutilations of animals, people, abductions, experiments, secret treaties, a secret government with its own secret police. I put it all in there because that's what I'd heard.
Hell, that sounds like today, doesn't it?
It does. It does. So be prepared that this thing looks like it's going, this UFO cover-up looks like it's collapsing with a whimper and not a bang, but it could conceivably collapse with a bang.
So there's this view.
So anyway, that might be.
There's a view out there, John, that the powers that be had this guy Grouch come in. He said, "This is what I want to talk about," and they signed off on what he was allowed to talk about. And there's two views of this out there, and I want your view on this. One view is that they were giving him the okay to talk about Americans being murdered by aliens and all these stories that he's been saying as either, yes, we agree with this and we're allowing you to talk about this, or we're allowing you to talk about this and we don't agree with any of this, which is an interesting way to position it, of course. So what's your view?
Well, there's my understanding of it, and one of the reasons I wrote the novel is so I could kind of wrap my head around everything I'd heard. I heard stuff similar to Gorish back in the 80s.
Yeah,
I mean, you got Ronald Reagan announcing, well, we might have to form a worldwide alliance against an alien invasion. He did that 4 times. First 2 times he did it, we thought, it's just old Ronnie, Irishman telling a tale. No, it looked like he was.
Well, John.
Yeah, well, all I can say is everything that Gorish has talked about, I've heard.
Yes.
I heard and in the settings I was working in, it wasn't a dive bar in Georgetown where I heard it. After a few beers, it was in a much different professional setting. I heard the same stuff. So I'm glad it's coming out. But as I said, the whole UFO experience has gone far beyond farmers standing in their cornfields looking at lights in the sky. This is a science fiction horror movie, complete with the government in bed with 1 or 2 alien groups who aren't very nice. And
that is one theme that I've been hearing since the early 90s, that there are at least 6 or 7 different groups of visitors coming here. And the way it was broken down to me, the first couple of groups are friendly toward the human race. Okay.
They look, some of them look just like us too.
Yes. They have no ill will for humans at all. Then there's another group, 2 or maybe even 3, that are indifferent, benign. Okay, they're benign, but they're indifferent. Yeah. They really don't care one way or the other. But this was stressed to me. there is one group that have pure hostile intentions toward the human race. One group that would like to exterminate humanity. Obviously, they haven't done it. Perhaps
in my novel, guess who the government climbs into bed with?
yeah. But there perhaps the reason they haven't is because there is an organization out there of some type that's been holding them in check. But that being said, I've always been of the opinion anything living had a begin date and an end date. And to my knowledge, there's no one immune to bullets.
No.
Well, I mean, let's go back to the ancient Hindu text of Vimana. You know, they talked about this stuff, that there were aerial wars.
Yep.
You know, this is ancient. And
brighter than a thousand
today,
suns sounds like a nuclear weapon going off finally.
Sure does. I mean, and then you go back because, you know, you're the one who discovered that there was a nuclear event on Mars. 2 of them, what was it, over 1 million years ago?
Yeah, Jerry, your sound is breaking up. Is Don? You talk. Say something.
Something. Hello. Hello.
Yeah, he's
Can
coming in
me?
really clear. Jerry, you're.
Is that better?
Nope. Anyway, I just want to tell you that. Yeah, I mean, we can understand you. You're speaking
well, the
coherently.
Question, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Oh,
can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
It sounds good now. It sounds good now.
It's kind of weird. I see your mouth moving, and then I hear the words a second later, and it's kind of like you're a puppet out of sync.
Can you hear the words coming out of my mouth?
Yeah, I can. Yes. By the way,
amazingly,
I just wanted to amplify what Don said. You know, I think he's right on. Here's the interesting thing. It looks like we're in a neutral zone of space, not claimed by anybody. That's why we get so many different visitors. We're in the center of the Romulan neutral zone. And that may be account for why nobody has showed up with a big battle fleet to try and take this place.
Well, like in Star Trek, gold laced latinum, just gold is in it. And I wonder sometimes if that's the singular reason why this planet's so important.
We got gold here. Yes, we do.
I always kind of figured we were the first off-ramp right next to the superhighway. Okay.
Just a bump in the road where you can stop for a cheap thrill every once in a while.
We're a cheap old truck stop.
Gas up,
right.
And hey, Earth girls are easy.
Oh, they are.
Hey, great
especially
movie.
if you got fancy trinkets to show them.
Does that make the Air Force lot lizards?
Yes.
So John, how does this play into it to you? I think it's all a game myself, but
it's all everybody's gaming
right.
system.
Clearly, we know that the releasers of the information, Kane and Blumenthal, are snakes in the grass. They're liars. They make stuff up and they keep stuff out. Okay, so how should the uneducated in this compartmentalize this information that we know that both of those people have agendas? They're liars. We know this by their past work. So then how does the regular person look at that and go, well, what part of this information should I actually either believe or go in and look at myself, knowing that it's coming from people who have very checkered pasts?
Oh, I know. There's so many people blowing smoke and generating smoke here. Knowledge is power. You think the people with power are going to give up their knowledges and all of it? No, they're not.
Well, there's also a question, John.
What?
That I said it last week. I always worry there's a little bit of wag the dog in here. That some of these things are conveniently released or said. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we're going to have a space defense buildup when this is done. I view the human race as a pretty tough bunch. Essentially, look at what Don went through. My father was a combat veteran of World War II. So were all my uncles. My one uncle may have helped liberate death camps. He'd never talk about the war. He was part of Patton's army. He'd never talk about the war. And but he taught me electricity and magnetism when I was a kid, how to make things work. And the human race is a pretty tough bunch of characters. And we're fit to survive in this universe. And we're Don, we are quick learners. We are quick learners. And so I think we're going to be fine. And the government never shows all its cards. It just doesn't. It's impossible for them to do that. But
well, anything we see today flying that is obviously made in the USA. Yeah. I was told over 35 years ago by somebody that would have known. He said, you can tack another 50 years of technology on that because that's what we really have. But they're keeping it under wraps.
Sure. Hey, I work on unified field theory. The theory I developed called the GEM theory, which I published, and I got funded by DARPA to investigate it. They said, oh, you can only do theory. Don't do any experiments, they said. Unless you want a free trip to Site 51.
What?
Courtesy of Uncle Sam. No, they didn't say that.
Did they actually threaten
They
you?
said they implied
threat. Gotcha.
Do any experiments. They implied that very strongly. They said, just do theory. Now, the theory I developed says you can change gravity fields with electromagnetism. And by the way, you use Tesla fields in a rotating three-phase. That's why a lot of these saucers have 3 bumps on the bottom. So we can figure this stuff out. And
I guess it takes a rocket scientist to do that.
Well, I just happen to be
John, take off your hat and show Gary.
Oh, yeah, remind people that you are a rocket scientist. There you go.
I was doing a rocket experiment and it cost me all my hair.
That's right.
It's the truth.
And John, how about this view of the story as well? I want to pepper you with these things because I've been watching all the stuff that I sent to Don, and there's just a lot involved here.
There's so much video there. I didn't know what we could use for the show.
If I really knew anything I could prove, I wouldn't be able to talk.
Well, no.
Wall Street. Right. Those who know can't say, and those who say don't really know. All I heard was a bunch of rumors.
Right. So, as more of the information from the 3-hour interview comes out, it seems clear that this new whistleblower is or was or is currently intimately involved with a lot of the people who we already know about. Lou Alessandro, Travis Taylor, right? Because some of the stuff he's saying some of the stuff that this guy's saying is parroted directly from information that we've already heard from them in the same way. It's presented in the same way. So myself, Travis, the Skinwalker Ranch, it's a bunch of horse shit for the most part, in my opinion. I'm not saying nothing's going on there, but the way that they're presenting it and all this fake science and all this, so we put it all together and we can't like step out of the muck of what's going on previously to the whistleblower, because he's insinuated himself into that too. Right?
Pretty soon they're going to spot Bigfoot there too. You know, I grew up with Bigfoot, and you know, in I grew up in Southern Oregon, and everybody believed in Bigfoot. But you know what? They never found any skeletons. They found everything else in the woods. A skeleton.
Well, my statement on that is, if they are intelligent, then they bury their dead. I've always I'm not freaked out by that. Also, as an avid hunter, you don't always run into skeletons out there.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
No, the predation.
Jerry, you raised a valid point.
Very quickly disposes of skeletal remains, but they have found scat. Okay, which is a polite way of saying shit. All right, that's believed to come from. God, you just keep
putting us in the gutter, Don. My God,
I know it, but I like to make sure everybody knows exactly what it is I'm trying to say here. And they have
found cards on the table.
They have found hair that has been examined and DNA tested. So yeah, there's a hell of a lot.
I wasn't aware of that actually. All I heard was just conversations, you know, growing up.
But there's pretty damn good evidence that there is something out there running around. And, you know, even though I got to tell you, and this is getting a little sidetracked,
sure.
Even though I don't have a lot of high regard these days for David Paulides, he can be an asshole. Yeah, I said it.
Can we
an asshole?
On that time?
But he has done some excellent research in missing 411. Okay, literally thousands of people over the years that have disappeared without a trace, entering primarily national parks and forests. Okay,
well, what a good place to hide out.
Something has been grabbing those people. Okay.
Oh yeah.
What I point to is this. I don't know if there's a Bigfoot or not, but I do know.
I don't care about.
There are
Bigfoot.
Hundreds of thousands of cameras attached to fence lines and trees around the entire nation. And I'm watching YouTube, and they have dread captures and all these channels showing similarly. What's that? Oh, it's not clear. I really can't see. I'm not saying it's true or not, but again, hundreds of thousands of cameras mounted onto solid objects, recording in HD quality. And still to this point, no clear footage. Not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying the opportunity to record it is more than out there.
You know, there's a lot of strange stuff out there. Somebody asked me why I wasn't interested in some of this other strange stuff like Skinwalker Ranch, and I said, well, I said, you know, because I'm a Mars guy, and then I dabbled in UFO, at least in science fiction. I said, when you like to eat wild mushrooms, you're especially careful which ones you eat. And I just decided not to go sampling mushrooms in that department. In fact, I told Travis Taylor, I really like the guy. He's a very solid scientist. I said, stay away from Skinwalker. He got exposed to radiation last time he was out there.
Yeah, ionized radiation.
Yeah, well, I told him. I said, Travis, stay away from that place.
So here's a question about that. We've got his buddy out there who got the lump on his head, and they're saying, right? Well, wait, he's still out there. He's still going back there. They're inviting people like from the Washington Post out there to spend the night. Nobody's shutting it down due to people getting sick or getting radiation sickness. The state's not coming in, the CDC's not coming in, and the owner wants to open it up into some kind of a Roswell, New Mexico style thing. And yet, all these people are getting sick.
Intent, Mark. I don't think that's his intent anymore. Also,
that's not the point.
None of the crews leave there.
That's not the point. People have evidently gotten sick out there, gotten radiation poisoning, and it's still open to the public in a sense.
It's kind of
you
a
can
roach
still
motel
go out there.
It's kind of a roach motel for people interested in psychic stuff.
Right, but it's bigger than that.
Well, so is Sedona. Hold on now. The argument you're trying to make there is that it's hokum because they're still, and that's not true. Because Sedona is still open. Sedona is still open, and that is a uranium deposit there, and people move around and walking in the sand there. The dust comes up, and guess what? That's irradiated dust.
Gary, you're roboting,
buddy.
You're having some audio problems.
All I'm saying is that I'm saying the property was sold, evidently knowing it gets people sick. Okay, evidently knowing that.
There's an argument because I believe Brandenburg. I mean, not Brandenburg. What's his name? Bigelow.
It's your fault.
Fuck Brandenburg.
Bigelow. Don't get me confused.
Bigelow. You cannot sell property without disclosure of anything you're aware of. If you are selling a major property like that, you can't sell it without disclosing something. So what's in the Mesa? They have to fucking know what's in the Mesa. I'm not saying Travis Taylor knows, but that asshole that owns it now,
right?
He knows what's in that Mesa.
I'm not concerned about what's in the Mesa. I'm concerned about the state of New Mexico, knowing that people are getting radiated and poisoned out there and not doing anything about it. Come on.
That's Utah, Mark.
Okay, fine.
Not New Mexico.
It's like, come on. They're doing nothing about it. A well-known scientist is getting radiated out there. They don't do anything about it, and he just keeps on going back. Come on.
Sounds like politics as usual.
It's worse than that. I'm telling you, it's worse than that, because if you have something like that go down in most states, they're closing it down.
Well, I'm just going to tell
you. Mark has a point.
No, he does. And the point is this, politicians in New Mexico, you saw the guy that ran for president a few years back. Guy's a fucking idiot. You only have a handful of decent politicians in New Mexico. It's just a mess down there.
The CDC, World Health. Now, granted, I know we've had
Utah. I don't know. I think they're corrupt.
Well, fine, but it's on TV. Look, Ma, I got this big thing on my head. Oh, it went down. I'm going to go back out there now and risk doing that again. Come on. I'm not saying nothing's going on out there. I can't say that. But there's been cause and effect with sickness and illness out there. And yet, nothing. It's like,
well, I got to point out the only problem I have with the scientists aspect of the show is, why is Travis Taylor the only physicist there?
Because it's a budget. It's a budget concern.
That's
Let me
my
tell you
beef.
what would happen if they asked me to go out there.
Well,
Don, guess what I would say to them if they asked me to go out to Skywalker Ranch?
I'm guessing no.
Blow it out your ass.
No, I will not go out there. What the hell for?
And let's not forget, as nice as Travis and smart as he may be, and he seems to be, he wouldn't talk to the Washington Post reporter who spent the night out there and did multiple segments out there, and he wouldn't talk to Don Ecker. Nope, I'm going to go to a Star Trek convention.
He wouldn't talk to you, Don?
No, I think he's afraid of him. I got to be honest. I think he's afraid of him because he knows that Don's going to ask him the questions he can't answer.
Well, if you can't answer,
originally, when John Brandenburg approached him, Taylor, he said, "Sure, have him get in touch." Sent me his phone number.
Then he went home and read up on you.
No, what happened is he talked to his handlers, I think, and they said,
so that's above the science, right? That's above the science.
Well, let me tell you about something about science. my experience of science is a lot more like Hollywood than anybody realizes.
Sure.
And by the way, when they bring in, if they take some of these string theory people and show them stuff at Site 51, oh God, that is supposedly the leading edge of unified field theory, and it's produced nothing. For 30 years now, they've spent billions of dollars on string theory, and that's not going to tell you how UFOs fly. It's got to be.
Well, now I'm gonna test all you guys to see if you can read a metaphor. But I'm a guy that goes outside and picks up my own dog shit. Okay, I don't farm that out.
Okay,
I don't ask somebody else to do it for me. I do it. Okay. Now
I pay somebody else to do it, but I don't own a dog, so.
Yeah. So, a man who won't pick up his own dog shit, I got no respect for.
Absolutely. If you don't know the answer, don't give the answer. Say, I don't know.
When I tried to contact Taylor, just like when I contacted Lou Elizondo, all right, and both initially said, sure, love to talk to you.
Right.
And then Taylor never even gives me the courtesy of an email saying I can't do it. Or Elizondo, who continually promised me, well, I'll call you this weekend, and then never did. That tells me a lot, because I look at it through the eyes of a cop that had a confidential informant that has fallen down on the job, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Oh, and I did want to mention to you that the Washington Post guy who did all the work out at the Skinwalker Ranch, I don't know what you guys thought of the work, but I thought it was well done. He was asking questions and trying to give him his fair shake. I sent this to you, Don. I don't know if you watched it. The 5 things wrong with the whistleblower was one of the things that I sent out.
Oh, send that to me, Mark.
I did. I sent you all the stuff, dude, and you never downloaded.
Oh, I got all of it. I got it all.
Oh, yeah. Jerry.
I download it.
Jerry.
Get a lot of stuff.
If I already own it, I don't download it. That's
no, I get that. But my private videos you don't own. Okay. My private ones, if you get my drift, right? So
I got some nice private videos too.
I bet you do.
Was I not supposed to see
I
those,
don't know
Mark?
what to think about these
Am I not
private
supposed
video
to see
things.
those?
Women on the cover of my novel. Yeah.
Oh my.
By the way, before you continue, Mark, I want to point out something that Don said with picking up dog poop. If aliens watch us picking up all this fucking animal shit, they're going to think the animals are in charge.
Yeah, well, they are. So the Washington Post guy in the video that I sent out, he says, and he's like Don. He precedes himself, but he got in touch with the whistleblower. He called him up. Hey, how's it going? I'm from the Washington Post, and I'd like to click. Hung up on him. Just hung up on him.
Gorish hung up on him?
Yes, and then he tried again and again and again. Nothing.
No,
now look, this guy, I only know of this guy as a guy who did Skinwalker and some other stuff on his YouTube channel, but he's a known entity. Sure. And the Washington Post said that they would have run the story after the Times said no, flat out. And that's who Kane and Blumenthal wrote for before. The Washington Post said, yeah, we'd like to, but we need a chance to do a bit of background on it. What happened was this, and you guys may not know this. A month ago, the lawyer or somebody deeply involved with Grush slipped his name out on a podcast, and they were afraid that they were going to get scooped, and that's why they went to the Debrief website.
Huh.
Yeah. So I was wondering why.
I'll just tell you, in my novel, the UFO cover-up collapses. It dies a horrific, violent death. And then the hero is a special forces guy like Don used to be, and he's in the hospital, and he's got people coming to interview him, debrief him, and he says, well, I happen to know that the furnaces in this town, Washington, D.C., are all being stoked with every, computer drive and everything else. Everyone is in the CYA mode because the UFO cover-up collapsed, and everybody's got egg on their faces, and so they're burning all the shit.
Right.
And he says, and I'm probably going into one of those ovens myself before too long.
Ah. Hey,
he says, because I know too much. The heroine, the Asian heroine, has him in a hotel room, and she says, "Is the situation in the UFO cover-up snafu state?" And he says, "Oh, we passed out a snafu 10 years ago, and we're far beyond FUBAR now." He says, "We're in a nameless place."
So
then she says, "Oh, kiss me."
So in your background, where does the Title 50 clearance fall with you? Above you, below you, beside you?
I don't know anything about Title 50 clearance. I never got one. That's one reason I can.
That sounds like it might be affiliated with SAP programs.
Yeah, it's yeah.
We need to go to break now, gentlemen.
I wasn't aware of, and
no, Martin. No, we're not going to break. No, Martin.
Oh, yes, it's time. Chanel, take us away. Hi, guys. This is Gary from Pop Culture Minefield here on KGRA, and we're leaving for our first break. I hope we survive.
Did you know 75% of Americans are chronically dehydrated? If you struggle with focus, run low on energy, or when it's time to finally sleep, you simply can't, this can all be linked to dehydration, and Fuel Up has the answer. Our proprietary formula contains the finest cellular hydration with the strongest immune-enhancing natural ingredients. The Fuel Up system is made up of 3 different incredibly tasting varieties. Wake kickstarts your day with a jolt of caffeine. Play boosts focus while hydrating your cells. Rest not only helps you relax, but also rejuvenates your cells while you sleep. Here's what our clients have to say.
I really don't miss my coffee, and you can tell the difference.
So I'm going to take it for the energy. I'm going to take it for the play. I'm going to take it, all day.
And it works. That's the thing. It works. We love it.
Take the Fuel Up Challenge now, where we offer a Feel the Difference money-back guarantee. Fuel Up for life.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Oh wow, we survived. Welcome back to the commercial break. Now for some more Pop Culture Minefield on KGRA. We're back, but not John Brandenburg.
John had to go.
John had to step away. It is the end of his tenure here today anyway, because he had to go do something else that was more important, as I recall.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
It was only work related.
Hey, Don, I don't know where I fall in on this, but one of the interesting things that's been brought up is that because of the departmentalization of special projects, one hand doesn't know what the other's doing, in a manner of speaking. And there's been this, theory put out there. It depends on the decade, I suppose, that you would go find something crashed and it's decades ahead, like you said, right? 50 years ahead or something. But for some reason it comes down and a country finds it, they bring it in, and then the different departments start to work on this thing and nobody really knows what the other one's doing. And then because of the rumor mill and things that can happen with environments and people, maybe possibly something pops up out of this stew and some of the people involved say, wow, are we working with something from this world or not? Because it's 30 or 40 or 50 years ahead and they've never seen it. I'm not saying the real technical people, maybe some of the more paper pushers or something like that. I'm not sure. But if you're right that it's 20, 30, 40, 50 years ahead and people unbeknownst find this stuff crashed or whatever, and then they break it apart in a Corso style, right?
Sure.
And all these places work on it, then is it beyond the pale to think that at least in some of these areas, these little rumors and stuff start like, we've never seen this before. We have no idea where this came from, where the other department might know exactly where it came from, but they're not talking to each other.
Well, in an SAP program, special access program, okay, this was created to make even the name of whatever it is they're doing classified.
Yes.
In other words, not only is the program as highly classified as you can imagine, and I mean pure total black, but even referring to the name is a federal violation under federal statute.
Yeah.
So
John,
that several years ago, I wrote a paper on the Eric Davis Thomas Wilson affair. Now, this happened in the aftermath of Dr. Edgar Mitchell's death. And he had some papers discovered, Mitchell did, that he had written and had copies and things of, by an Australian UFO researcher that was forwarded. A lawyer got involved in the mix. And the next thing you know, investigator, researcher, UFO aficionado Dolan got it and went on YouTube talking about this document. Now, basically what the document was Dr. Eric Davis, who had been originally employed by Robert Bigelow out at the Skinwalker Ranch under the auspices of NIDS, all right, National Investigative Discovery Science, an organization that Bigelow created.
He also worked for Hal Puthoff.
Well, Puthoff, was also in the mix. Puthoff being a former, and perhaps even today, CIA scientist, or at least a contract scientist. But this document stated that back in the 90s, among other people contacting Wilson. Now, Wilson, first you got to know who he was. He was the director, a 2-star admiral director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, the DIA, the military's version of the CIA.
Yes.
Really highly placed, rarefied atmosphere. And he had been approached by Edgar Mitchell, Stephen Greer, Billy Cox, journalist, among others. What the hell, Admiral, do they really know in the Pentagon about the UFO thing? So Wilson decided to go looking. I guess he was intrigued. Well, he did. And he discovered the rumor mill that there was an aerospace corporation out here in California. Now, it was never named. However, I, on fairly good authority, think it was Lockheed. Basically had, so the rumor mill went, recovered alien ET technology. In other words, a craft, a saucer, a downed object. Well, Wilson called them up. He figured, hey, I'm an admiral. I'm running the DIA. These guys who are civilians got to talk to me. Well, they said, we can't discuss anything on the phone line. It's not secure. If you want to talk about anything like that, you've got to come out here. So he did. He flew out to the coast, went to this place. They took him into a secure vault and then basically pulled out their book to see if his name was in there. Wilson, the admiral, the guy that's running the DIA, his name wasn't there. They told him, in essence, go pound sand, Admiral. You don't have a need to know. No. Well, he left in a furor, went back to D.C., prepared to raise holy hell. And somebody pulled him aside and said, Admiral, you are coming up on retirement. You're going to have a nice retirement. You may get another star before you retire. And you don't want to lose all that, do you?
No, you
don't. Right there, tells you how highly classified this horse shit is. Well, this is the story. And Eric Davis made arrangements to meet Wilson in the parking lot at EG&G in Las Vegas. Now, for any of you people that know your UFO history, you know that EG&G was where purportedly Bob Lazar, Area 51, Site S4, that whole story where Lazar went initially to EG&G. So these guys, at least by appearances, are highly connected to this UFO business. Well, Davis, and I know how this shit works, having interviewed God only knows how many people that I've interviewed over the years, must have had a little digital recorder, because the notes that Eric Davis took are too meticulous to have gone from memory. And Wilson laid this whole thing out to Eric Davis, who wrote it up and then, among other people, gave a copy to Edgar Mitchell, which was the one that went full circle and ended up back in the hands of Richard Dolan. Now, do I believe this happened the way it was described? I do. I absolutely do. And in light of the revelations that have come out with Grush, recently, with what he purportedly has been told, I accept it. Now, is this the world's biggest dog and pony show? Well, if you're a military vet, you know what a dog and pony show is, especially if you go south of the border. Or, in my case, when I was in Southeast Asia, down in Naha City. So, that private little joke there. But the bottom line was, this makes perfect sense to me.
So I got a question to both you and John. My research, because I look into cults and things, is that for a while, Hal Puthoff was a dyed-in-the-wool Scientologist. Does that color your view of him at all?
No.
Because that's a
A lot of
crazy
smart people who were Scientologists and then flicked it in. You know, I was a Pentecostal fundamentalist when I was younger, and after enough Tim and Tammy, or no, it was Jim and Tammy Faye Baker.
Jim and Tammy Baker, yeah.
I decided
PTL.
I'm just going to become an Episcopalian, and that's what I am now.
No, that's fine, but you don't have a
It doesn't mean you're a stupid person. It just means you swallowed something when you were younger,
right.
and then you ditched it.
Well, of course, this wasn't younger. He was a full-grown man at this point. But when you look into the beliefs there with Xenu, the aliens, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah.
No, I'm just saying that it's.
I know it has a lot to do with extraterrestrials, and
right.
you know, who knows if it took inspiration from stuff that L. Ron Hubbard may have learned about. He was, you know, the person who founded JPL, I think it's Parsons.
Yeah.
Was one of his buddies, at least until he stole his girlfriend or something.
Right.
And money.
You know, it's a real.
They also stole some money. Yeah.
Right. I just thought I'd throw it out there. I'm not making any sort of connection.
Oh no.
But
I've known Hal Puthoff for a long time. He's a solid guy. He works on unified field theory like I do, and we chat occasionally. And he's a great guy. He's a solid guy. And and he liked my science fiction novel.
I guess one of the only reasons that I throw that out there is we all know other people that we may either respect or not respect, and if you tell them or you find out that they're involved in something a little esoteric, you'll just walk away from them and you'll say, I can't believe that you would even believe this horse shit and spend any time and any money on this horse shit.
Well, you know, sometimes horse shit is preferable to bullshit. And the world is full of bullshit. And so every once in a while it gets wrapped up and presented as horse shit. And maybe you try it, you know.
Right. So
like I said, I became a Pentecostal fundamentalist when I was young because my parents became Pentecostal fundamental, and I was trying to be a loyal son, and then I just outgrew it. You know, it's like a pair of shoes you wear at 12, and your feet will not fit into them anymore when you're 18. You know, it is.
Religion is often a family tradition. I'm Catholic because of it.
Yes.
So you know, but I wanted to ask you a question, John. From earlier, you brought up the string theory. How unified is the string theory?
It's string theory is
because you know it's got a lot of critics.
One scientist who was a Nobel Prize winner in physics describes the present state of string theory as a boil on the backside of physics.
Well, because they can't do any experiments with it.
They can't. They've tried experiments to try and prove. They haven't accomplished nothing.
What is the competitive think now, though? If it's not none. The unified string theory, what is it?
Well, they had what was called supersymmetry, and that failed. I mean, you know, these guys try and test these theories and the big particle super colliders and things like this. Right now, I would say physics is lost in the middle of a desert. They're in the wilderness.
That's what it feels like, because Michio Kaku is like the only major physicist out there still talking about string theory. He's the only one. I don't hear any others.
Everybody knows what it is, and it sounds fancy. You know, let me put it this way. It was based on Kaluza-Klein. I don't want to sound technical, but what happens is you have 4 dimensions, you know, space, time, and X, Y, and Z. And that gives you Einstein showed that you can get the Einstein equations for gravity out of minimizing stresses in that curved space. So that's 4 dimensions. If you add a 5th hidden dimension, the Kaluza-Klein dimension, suddenly you get the equations of electromagnetism and the equations of gravity meshed. It's just incredible. And this is the basis for string theory, because okay, if you add 1 new dimension, you get gravity and E&M field equations. They just fall right out.
Right.
With a 5-dimensional space, and you have a curled up, the 5th dimension is curled up. So what these string theory people did is they added 11 new dimensions, and none of them. You ask
Where'd
them,
they
what
get
does
those
the 11th
from?
dimension mean, and they don't know. You know, I know what X, Y, and Z means, and I know what time is. It means when it's time fact, I'm going to have to go pretty soon because I've run out of time. But, when it's time to pay the rent, that's time. The universe is expanding. That's the advance of time. Okay, we understand that. The fifth dimension apparently is charge to mass ratio or something like that. So you end up with these little microscopic charged particles. But then they tried to add more dimensions to it, and it all blew up in their faces. But it's the only.
Will we ever see string theory go away? Because
what's that?
Will we ever see string theory go away? Because I'm tired of hearing about it.
I know it's an abomination, but it's the only abomination in town right now. And
okay, I get it.
That's I'm sorry. I mean, when people are calling it a boil on the ass of physics, that's pretty bad.
It's wonderful you brought up PTL with Jim and Tammy Baker, because even after they fell apart, they still stuck around just like string theory.
Oh, they did, and I mean, the pastor of the church I was very active in when I was younger and in college. My first years of college, he ended up having an affair with his choir director, and everyone could see it happening too. They'd see he and she looking at each other fondly, and so even in the church I belonged, that I basically got swept up in the movement in, the pastor ended up thinking with the wrong head, and so that happens so often. Yeah. I just thought I'm just gonna go to be an Episcopalian because that's, it's Christianity in its simplest form.
It's a Catholic light.
It is Catholic light, yes, it is.
But let's go to Vegas, because that's the other subject. Come on, get into it, Mark.
Wait. So I just wanted to say that that in the 90s, when I talked to Robert Hoagland a number of times, called him on the phone, I met him in person. Yada, yada,
Richard Hoagland.
Sorry, Richard. I guess I should remember that. When he told me, after I paid him $25 to be in the room, when he told me that there was a intergalactic war going on, this was like 93, 95, around there, an intergalactic war going on right then with zero proof, zero evidence. Just, this is what's going on now. And then he got pissed at me because I made that public, and he said, this was only for the people who paid the $25. That's a quote from him. Based on the whistleblower, what Don said this morning, and based on what the whistleblower said, should I have just out of hand believed him?
As Don has said, there's all these different species reported. In fact, Don, I remember I complained to you. I said, when I work on Mars, there's scientific articles and data I can reference, but ufology, there are no facts. There are only reports. It's a job for a journalist. It's not a job for.
No, that's a good point.
It's a job. It's a job
the
for
one
an
thing
experienced
I try
journalist like Don. What's that?
Okay.
Well, with journalism in particular, but with all of us, we have to broach and make sure that, yes, we are being skeptical, but avoid becoming cynical.
That's pretty hard.
Because then our underwear shows. And
remember the great communicator, Ronald Reagan. Remember Ronald Reagan?
Well, Don.
Yes, trust but verify.
Trust.
Right. And there was no way for me to verify anything Hoagland said in the 3-hour thing I sat through.
Well, I gotta speak up and say some kind words. But Dick Hoagland started the Mars investigation thing that got me swept up. And I had been told, by the way, that in graduate school, there are no UFOs, Brandenburg. Don't even ask about it. I'm working at a nuclear weapons lab, and they tell me this, and I say, yes, sir. Could you please sign my thesis, sir? my PhD thesis so I can get out of here and get a real job.
So let's
You know,
talk
and
about
it was like that. And then so I got to this other nuclear weapons lab, Sandia Labs in New Mexico. And by the way, you've never gone through a nuclear crisis until you've gone through one at a nuclear weapons lab.
Yeah, I bet.
We went through Able Archer 83. You can look it up on. We were as close to a nuclear war as we were during the Cuban Missile Crisis, but it was all secret. Only people like us who had security clearances knew.
Well, you're around when that. Are you talking about that period during the Reagan administration?
Yeah. Well, let's see. It was 83. So yeah, when Reagan.
Yeah, because that shit.
In
People
fact,
don't.
Margaret Thatcher had to call up Reagan and say, "You better back off on the Russians. They're starting to get panicky and twitchy, and they might do something crazy." You know, the Russians convinced themselves that a big NATO war exercise called Able Archer 83.
Yeah, Able Archer. That's the one.
That-
People
that-
have
that-
no idea how close to World War III we came.
Well, if you boys remember your history, after the fall of the collapse of the Iron Curtain and the communist government of the Soviet Union collapsed, George Knapp went over to the former USSR, checking on now, at that time, a plethora of UFO reports coming out of the USSR, the former USSR. And he ended up interviewing some former high-level Soviet military people. And he was then informed about a Soviet nuclear missile battery that had been suffered an incursion from UFOs that came in, lit up their command panel, and began a countdown to launch their nukes at whoever they were targeted at. They couldn't stop it. The Russians couldn't stop it. And right before they launched, the UFOs apparently turned it off. So that was 1983.
They want it for themselves, you know?
They were sending a message, John.
Absolutely, they were sending a message. But I happen to know you can build nuclear weapons that can be lit by a Ronson lighter with just a fuse, and they'll work perfectly fine. You just have to design them that way. All this computer stuff, you don't need it. You just light a big fuse. It'll go off just fine. And the aliens know that. They know that.
Well, this is something we've talked about before with that if it came down to it, because they have control over technology, we would have to do it by hand.
Oh yeah. School. Well, in any war with advanced extraterrestrials, dumber is smarter.
Yep.
Well, in Vietnam, there was a fear that the Chinese would make an incursion like they did in Korea during the Korean conflict. And deployed out of Okinawa, where the first Special Forces group was, were certain hand-picked elite teams of SF troopers whose mission was to parachute into various strategic locations in not only South but North Vietnam with nuclear backpacks, that if the Chinese invaded, they were prepared to nuke with small, of course, tactical nukes, but they were prepared to launch tactical nuclear weapons at the Chinese. Now, that is not well known today, but think about that. If that would have happened, my God.
By the way, once one nuclear weapon goes off, it creates so much electromagnetic interference that anybody who's using fancy technology, it starts going away. And this means not only just people on Earth, but people from outer space. You know, I think that the reason that we're not speaking alien and feasting on cow rectum as hors d'oeuvres is because we have all these nuclear weapons. In fact, according to Corso, and I believe this, Corso said both sides in the Cold War, the Soviet Union and the United States, stockpiled so many nuclear weapons because they weren't just deterring each other. They had enough weapons to blow up their Earth 10 times over. It was to deter the Greys. That's basically, if somebody wants to foreclose on your house and you wire it with dynamite, then you just say, "Come on in." You know,
make you have a super sneaker.
Speaking of Greys, I saw one in Las Vegas, Gary.
Yeah. We're going to go into that. Darius Munchausen with the $4 super sticker. It is a cup of coffee with a pear. I know Darius. One day he'll switch up just to mess with me, but that is his super sticker. I want to thank you, sir, for your super sticker. For you, you get this wonderful little video.
Hey, here's your free cup of coffee from a lady in Rhode Island. What?
Thank you, sir. Now, let's get to this because apparently Monkey Jeeves is losing his shit wanting us to talk about the UFO.
Let's hear from Monkey Jeeves.
Show it.
Jeeves, finish your straight shit.
Show the video and show the still.
Martin, you have it?
Well, I have two videos. One.
Which one do you want, Mark? Because he has one in Hispanic that you sent him.
Well, they're both different. They show the Hispanic one's got the video of what looks like a video game creature to me, and the other one has the still taken in a backyard associated.
Let's go with the first one. That's not the Hispanic one.
He wants to talk about Vegas.
What stays in Vegas?
Yeah, apparently doesn't.
What happens in Vegas doesn't stay in Vegas, unfortunately.
8-foot person beside it, and another one's inside, and it has big eyes and looking at us, and it's still there.
Okay, where is this on your property?
In my backyard. I swear to God, this is not a joke. This is actually we terrified of it.
Este video en el que son captados supuestos extraterrestres circula en redes sociales y está generando un intenso debate sobre su veracidad. El video fue captado por las cámaras de seguridad de un ciudadano en Las Vegas. Un policía narró que observó una luz verde descender cerca de donde él se encontraba y posteriormente un hombre realizó una llamada al 911 explicando que en su patio se encontraban dos criaturas a las cuales describió como muy altos y con ojos muy grandes. El hecho sucedió el mes de mayo, pero hasta ahora se dan a conocer las imágenes de dichos extraterrestres. Esto fue confirmado por los ciudadanos testigos del avistamiento. ¿Cuál es tu opinión respecto al video? ¿Real o no? Déjanos saber en los comentarios.
Big eyes, they have big eyes, like I can't explain it, and big mouth. They're shiny eyes, and they're not human. They're 100% they're not human.
So I saw something strange there, guys.
I've seen video games more realistic.
He looks like
it's not real.
Well, right.
CG.
This case happened on May 1st, and if you looked at the timestamp on the bottom of the video, it showed May 26th.
Yeah.
So let's show the still. If you want to play the video and then pause it at the still, because they only show one still, Martin. So if we can pause it there, then you can at least look at what looks to me like a special effect creature as well.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm showing up.
And while you're doing that, I'm going to explain why working in that area. Never mind. You're done. All right.
Oh, I can still pause it. Come on.
Well, just simply put, the video footage itself is too stable. The movement of the thing moving around did not look like something moving for real. It looked completely animated. There was no natural movement, organic movement. And once you hit that point where something doesn't look organic anymore, it's not.
Uncanny
valley, my friend.
And it's got a tail like George Costanza.
Not supposed to know that
Okay,
stuff,
guys,
man.
I'm gonna have to leave you guys and get
Hey,
to
John.
work here. And,
Take care, John.
It's a pleasure and honor to be
Take
working
care.
with you guys.
Thanks
on
for
this
being here,
thing.
man.
John.
And I'm glad I've seen the video now. By the way, the body cam footage of the oblong thing falling out of the sky,
Yeah.
that's impressive. Because
Yeah,
that
that's
does
real.
not look like a meteor at all.
It is not. It's not fake. It's not a meteor. It had clearly a shape to it.
Yes, and they say they could hear it hit the ground, and for some
Yes.
reason nobody has recovered it. Isn't
Exactly,
that
and they've not gone to the site at all, evidently.
No, they don't want it. Well, other people went to the site. You know,
Well, how
believe
about
me.
some kids on bicycles went to the site too, maybe, right? Who knows?
Well, they probably got told, paid some money and told to be quiet with what they saw.
Yeah.
That's what happened,
Yeah.
probably. That's in my knowledge.
Yeah, because the family is dropped out. Nobody can. No, they're not answering anybody.
Right.
No, they've been told not to talk. Whatever it is they saw.
And we knew
they've
there was
been
some
told not to
bullshit
talk.
going on when the TV released the story and said they'd been working on it for 3 weeks. And I'm like, that is not the kind of story that takes 3 weeks to fucking work out.
No.
And that just told me right then and there, this is government interference. So, but John, take care,
I'll
and we'll
leave
see you next
with
time.
one story. This is from.
Okay.
Bye, John.
Okay. Very good. So great to be on your show. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye-bye, John.
Thanks.
Okay. Should I play?
Yeah, let's
Oh.
check the still out. Right there. Pause it.
This Las Vegas man just uploaded the clearest images of the creature that allegedly landed in.
So what this is this guy's backyard, the automatic light comes on. He shot 4 frames, and this was the best frame that he got. Now, Jerry Gary, what does this look like to you?
Well, clearly it's a gray. It
Doesn't look real.
It's got the. It doesn't look real to me at all.
Right.
It looks like a statue, a mannequin. Did we see the other frames? Was there any kind of movement?
No.
Yeah, that's fake.
I thought that the ET from Signs looked more real than this.
Yes. And admittedly, that scene when it walks across the video.
Oh yeah, it's shocking the first time you see that.
I remember like, oh shit. It just came out. Yeah, that doesn't look real. There's a thing that happens with light. It's called diffusion that occurs with tissue, anything that's organic. And I look at this, and this is all surface lit, and there's no diffusion. So immediately I think bullshit.
Well, also, all of us have HD cameras. Granted, it's nighttime with the light, but this looks like it was shot with a potato, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, potato camera.
So the thing that I think about the Las Vegas thing, I talked to my friends about this, and I said, the thing that falls out of the sky is the important part of the story here. Not so much this, because there's no way to really get to the bottom of this. They, for some reason, the kids with who all have cell phones took no footage of the thing as it climbed up on the forklift, et cetera, et cetera. But boy, oh boy, they got the ring camera of the flash in the sky. It doesn't show it, of course. It just shows it on the street. And then the boom as it hits, right? Well, guys, who here, if they heard something like that, wouldn't immediately go outside to check it out? Who here, if it was like in the field next to their house, wouldn't at least peek over the fence and take a look and then maybe take a couple of snaps? We haven't seen anything.
Exactly. You can buy those maquettes, by the way. It's not that much money to buy a maquette, and there's no scale here. You don't know how close it is to the camera as compared to this distance from the window here. I would say you shot this on a budget of maybe $10-$20. So I don't think it was
let's
that.
not forget all of this stuff except the original footage of the thing in the air and them as they're in the backyard was after the fact, much like a Jaime Maussan. Let's release it and then ask for people who saw it, right? Let's release it first and then say, was there anybody out here who saw it? I saw it. It looked just like that. Oh, great.
Yeah, exactly. I will say this, that again, with tissue, you get this thing called it's diffusion, but it's called subsurface scattering, light scattering.
It's here. There is. Giving us
he brought it up. Okay. See, thank you, Darius. I knew if I knew it, somebody else knew it. This occurs. It's something that they've started perfecting finally in CG animation. Subsurface scattering, the diffusion of light through tissue. Like if you put a flashlight, you know what I'm talking about, between your fingers, and you get that cool scattering of the light through your skin. You would have that here, even in though it's blurry, you would still see it, and there's none. It's all reflective light, and it looks like plastic.
They're identifying and trying to write the software to get rid of the uncanny valley, slowly but surely.
Yep. So by blurring it, you're hoping to get rid of that uncanny valley to where it's just today getting a photo like this is just embarrassing.
Exactly. And that video. It's
Ring cameras take better video than this, right, Mark?
Yeah, depending on the situation. Right. And it's so sad that at least in the 90s, let's say, if there was a video released like that creature, you could figure it out because it probably came from a video game or a movie. But now you can do it at home, right? So there's no way to show the provenance to blow it out of the water. There's just no way unless they pulled it from a video game or a movie.
Yeah, so basically I think consensus here is both the video and this still are fake.
Right.
As Julia Louise-Dreyfus, another Seinfeld reference, would go, fake.
So yes, I do like the clip of whatever that green thing is, though, and then it did hit the ground, evidently.
Now the video I saw, it looked bluish, but I don't know if it was.
Well,
it's the same thing.
Yes.
That was incredible to look at, and it clearly wasn't fake. There was no, because there's this weird thing that happens when you do the handheld thing, and you can watch it. Your eye picks it up when it's fake movement of the camera. Your eye will pick it up. It's that, again, even with movement, not just organic tissue, but movement can be perceived by the human eye as being fake. And it's the thing that's missing in that moving alien video. There's no movement of the camera. It's like, so you were absolutely, totally stationary video recording this. And it didn't look like a security camera because that's not how security cameras work.
No.
Security cameras aren't low, they're high.
I did some research on how many cell phones are out there now. Now, just in our country, okay? 98% of the people have a cell phone and 93% of the people have a smartphone. So I'm here to tell you, man, we've all seen when there's a fight in a parking lot or something weird goes down or a jackass thing goes wrong. The cameras come out before they want to even ask the person, are you okay? The cameras always come out now. It's like a reaction, especially from the kids, and kids from 16 to 18, I guess, were involved in this. And they didn't pull their phones out? That makes no sense.
You see somebody get bitch slapped in the street, every camera's out.
Right.
Aliens pop up and they forget how to use them. Whatever.
Right. I mean, you've seen the footage of the big black kid whose Game Boy got taken from him in school, and then he tackles the teacher and beats the shit out of her, and everybody's shooting it before they even stop it, right?
Right.
So, it just makes no sense at all that this kid's friend didn't shoot this, or anybody in the backyard didn't shoot whatever was back there. It just makes no sense.
I know. But let's get back to the footage of what came out of the sky. Is that in this video here?
Be honest, I don't know. Probably it is. Probably you would just have to maybe mute it and play it, and let's see what happens. I can't do your work for you, Jerry. Sorry.
I'm going through it right now. I'm actually going through it. Doesn't look like it. No, it's not in there.
Okay.
All right,
yeah, this was the latest. This was the latest stuff.
So I would like to say about that footage and the pictures. Give me a second because I want to express my opinions with a clip. And I think we all agree.
It's a fake.
It's as fake as my forehead.
So, do you got any footage? Can you grab any footage there, Martin, of the UFO coming down over Las Vegas?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Let me look for it.
Yeah.
Because I was pretty impressed with that footage.
Yeah, they've got two clips, right? One is to the front and to the right, and then the other one's to the left and a little higher. I've seen two clips of the same thing, supposedly. I'm not 100% sure.
I do think it was legit.
No, I think that was because they got the ring camera of it getting really light and then a boom. And it's like, yeah, if that's from the same time period, it's something like the one that was shot from the taxi cab in Russia, right? Now that was a lot further away, but it goes all the way across the screen. Boom! I mean, it was exceptional footage. Hey, look, it's Bailey.
Bailey? That's Beagle Bailey.
Miss B.
I chew anything in my way.
Oh, Anima points out that whenever Martin says footage, it sounds like he's saying fetish.
Nice.
I resent that comment.
Or foot-ish.
See, it sounded like you said you'll resend.
Oh yeah, here
footage. Here we go.
Mysterious object that fell from the sky. Even the officers apparently saw
greenish
that.
blue.
Green glow of the alleged UFO was seen on this newly released body camera footage.
I have butterflies, bro. I really thought a shooting star.
Look, it shows May 1st, right? May 1st.
Yeah. Call came in. Less than an hour later, police were ready to believe it.
It was like a big creature.
A big creature?
Yeah, like a 150 pound.
Because I'm not going to BS you guys. One of my partners said they saw something fall in the sky too, so that's why I'm kind of curious. Did you see anything land in your backyard?
I saw Naked Jerry.
Officers closed the case as unfounded.
It does
That's like seeing a Sasquatch.
All right, deal with it yourself. I ain't dealing with that.
According to former intelligence officer David Grush, an alien crash landing isn't too far-fetched. Grush recently turned over...
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. That's pretty incredible what happened in Vegas. I just don't know what to make of it. It was not a meteor. Meteors don't act like that. That was really bizarre.
I would like to see that in real speed because I think every time I see that video that the video is played slowly.
Yeah. You want to see it combat speed. I get you.
I know you're saying that a meteor doesn't act like that. I'm not saying it doesn't, but if Martin can go up, and I'm trying to find it now, but my system, I've got to reload my stuff. The taxi cab footage of the Russian meteor looks
that shit was
right,
shit was
but
intense.
it looks similar. It does look similar.
Really?
Yeah,
My first thought was it was a meteor because I've seen enough meteors. It's the one in St. Petersburg that shoots across the sky and blows up.
Yeah, right. Now, granted, it's further away. It's a different color, possibly from the environment or something. But to say it doesn't look similar, it looks similar.
I could say similar, but look, meteors have a tendency of being of a specific shape with their trail and everything. That was different. that had curvature to it.
Yeah, I don't know if I can get. I'm not sure, but
well, the color, if it's a meteor, the color can be explained by the composition of the meteor, because it's just like what causes fireworks
I
to
wouldn't
be
do that
different
because
colors.
exactly. Anybody who took chemistry knows that everything burns at a different color depending on the material.
Burns at a different color. Yes, it does.
Mine's poop.
Oh my goodness.
That's even better. Thank you.
Poop burns and it smells again.
So you've seen my scat videos, have you? Nice.
I've definitely seen Don's scat videos.
No, you haven't. You're a lying sack of shit.
A burning lying sack of shit.
So
my pants are on fire.
So, Jerry Gary, I got a question for you. What are your views of the Skinwalker Ranch washing their hands of the ranch and saying, "Let's go on the road, boys"?
I don't think it's that at all. I think that what's going on with that is just simply, it's like any show. They once it becomes a hit, they're like, how can we make more of a hit? And I think it's a smart move, and to go investigate other places. It's not the only place. Frog
really?
Ranch.
So you think it's
the one thing they went to was Sedona.
I know it's an entertainment show.
Yeah, but you're going to go with it's distraction. I don't think it's distraction because
no. I think so. It's an entertainment show with a little bit of science. So 4 years into it, and we as a group, them and us, we've decided the research is done at Skinwalker. There's nothing to go back to go confirm.
Nothing of interest under that mesa.
It's not just the mesa. There's all kinds of issues.
All the other stuff, they're putting all their effort into it. Again, they don't sleep there. So it's like, how are you keeping an eye on it if you're not staying there? It's just really weird the way they're researching it. They need another
data of 4 years. The data of 4 years is this: Travis gets sick from that radiation poisoning. Goes back, says, no problem, I got my kids, I don't need semen. The guy gets a head swollen up. No problem, I'm going back, it's fine. That kind of stuff is just left to hang out there because it's an entertainment show. I get it, right? But they just aren't going back to the initial sort of issues and things that they saw.
Well, they do, Mark, they do, because like the last episode was go back. Well, this happened. And they went back and they talk about the things that happened previously. And the fact is it was brought up, I don't know if it was you or the other Mark, said that drones work every now and again. It's like, well, that's not the point. The point is that drones that typically don't malfunction suddenly malfunction. But it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't prove anything.
Yes, it does. If you have a drone that malfunctions from time to time, right? You should figure out if it's that make, if it's that model. Does this one malfunction? Where does it malfunction? This is science. But they don't do that. They don't do that.
They don't do that. They don't. It's when they had the guys there that were the specialists with their army of drones.
Right.
Well, you can't say they don't do that. They don't show
We
that.
don't show it. They don't show it. We don't know what they're doing.
What's the difference? You don't find out what the end result is, right?
We're not getting a conclusion.
The one that pissed me off the most was the first drone wouldn't work, and they just packed up and left. And it's like, wait a minute. Back up about, I don't know, maybe a football field. Back up another football field. Figure out where it works and where it doesn't work. Isn't that science? We're not interested in that. We're interested in heads that are swollen up, and we'll go take a CT scan.
Well, it's the same basic science of the dome or
Bigfoot.
What's that classic sci-fi movie, the Dunwich Cuckoos, where it's like, well, we got to keep getting closer. We'll find out. And they hit a point and they pass out.
Right,
it's like, this is mark this area. This is the non-safe zone. This is safe. basic science. It is.
Right.
Is
so then Travis wants to be taken seriously based on hokum. A lot of this is just freaking hokum. No wonder he doesn't want to talk to Don Ecker, because he's going to say, "Hey,
well, no, that's
moron."
what I said. It's what he's afraid of is the hard questions.
The real
he's
questions,
afraid of them.
the scientific questions, not
no,
the
just
hokum
even
we see
logic
on the
questions. Why aren't you? Why aren't you? What have you found there? Why is it taking you so fucking long to get into the mesa?
Also, does it have to be on the show? Can it be on a...
Why does the research stop when the show's not shooting?
Right, and can it be put on a website? Or can it be put in some other pay-per-view thing where, hey, guys, we know you have questions. We're going to have a pay-per-view, warts and all.
Boom. And here, Mark, I'm going to, this goes to what you're talking about. Do you guys remember when Loch Ness went live?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I was so ecstatic over that, and I sat for days watching video, and then my heart was broken going, oh, Loch Nessie doesn't exist. Because those, it's like days, years of fucking video. It went from hours to days to years of video, nothing. Every once in a while, they'd have something that did make sense, but nothing. Still nothing.
Hey,
you set that up. There should be a live feed, is what you're saying, and I agree.
And they could actually make more money if they wanted to, a pay-per-view thing, but not this horseshit stuff. A pay-per-view debate between Don Ecker and Travis, right? So, whatever. Anyway, did anybody here take the time to watch the Stephen Greer money grab? It just
what
happened.
Was that?
It just happened. You call yourself my UFO guy.
I'm a comic book artist, bitch.
Right.
I had to work yesterday, motherfucker.
You're a toy diddler. That's what you
Screw
are.
You, Mark. You jabroni. No, what are you talking about, man? What did I miss?
He had another press club thing where he brought a bunch of guys out to say what they saw, just like he did in the 90s. He just had it 2 days ago, 4 hours long. And he just released a new documentary, which I sent you yesterday.
Oh, yes, I got it.
Yeah, he says that, Don. Oh, yeah, I got it.
No, I got it. I just stopped because we're doing this show. It's paused. I'm downloading.
And I sent you the Corey Good piece of crap as well, because that guy is a known in front of a lawyer liar. But regardless, I gotta hand it to Greer in this way. He sees the whistleblower come out. He puts together, I don't know how long this has been working. This takes a while to put together, I'm sure. It might have just happened coincidentally. But he puts out another press club thing, has a few guys out there under name, et cetera, who talk about what they've seen. And
we got 1 minute.
Okay.
Oh, my God, it goes over already?
And he has the gall to say, I need more money. I've been at this for 33 years. We've got to get disclosure, blah, 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 blah. And the press were enraptured. They were asking him real questions. There was no laughing. There was nobody making fun of him. They were enraptured. Why were they enraptured? The whistleblower, A-tip, all of this new stuff. He's riding.
And I got to tell you, my ass is happy that the show is almost over.
Come on.
Well, this one show is almost over. We have to wrap.
Yep.
I guess the thing is we know that it's whatever it was real that came out of the sky in Vegas.
Absolutely.
The backyard shit's bullshit so far. I'm not saying the family's lying. I'm saying the video, whoever made that video and whoever did that photo, not real. Not real.
Say goodnight, Dick.
Good night, Dick. That was your... Don't forget this afternoon, we're going to have Mike Barrow from the History Channel